Unfiltered with Dave Latelli, and on this week I'm joined by my good friend Tegan, breakfast show host on My FM.
The cover's got me, Fano, the cover's got me.
I'm always trying to find out from successful people, like how they've become successful. She talked about, her struggles with mental health. I don't think I've heard her talk about that, going into therapy. All these tips and tricks and tools that we can all use.
You get the tools in your kete and you can manage it on your own.
How she fought her way back, and resilience. This term gets thrown around so much. To get resilient, you have to go through tough times, and she has an army brat, as she says, traveling around the world, and the perspective that gave her, living in Tonga while the riots were going on, her plans for the future. Just a cool story. I found it really cool, really inspiring, and I hope you do too. So don't forget to like, comment, and share this far and wide. Tegan, enjoy. Before we get started, Unfiltered with Dave Latelli is proudly part of the Acast network and produced by the amazing team at Fanaticals. This episode is brought to you by my good friends, Trust Motors. Now, they're an amazing company that support everything we do in the community. I've known them for a long time, so if you're looking for a new car, trading in your car, whatever the case may be sure to support those who support the community. Trust Motors, how car buying should be. Man, we have been blown away by the success so far of Unfiltered with Dave Latelli. The response, the comments, the stories that are being told are absolutely amazing, and we feel really privileged to be able to bring you these conversations. They are so important. So if you think they're important just like us, we need your support via Patreon. So only if you're able to pay for this, please. If you can't, I don't want you to pay for it. Every single dollar helps. Every single dollar will go towards making these stories blow up like they should be. Mainstream media aren't telling these stories yet. These are the stories to me that need to be told and held up on a pedestal to inspire the world. So that's why we're bringing Patreon. That's why we're implementing this tool as a way that we can continue to tell these stories to the best of our ability. And we feel very privileged to be able to do this. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And let's go. Tegan,
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining me.
That's all right.
You wouldn't be nervous. You're used to these things.
Oh, yeah, but when you're on the other end of the mic and not you're being the interviewee, not the interviewer, it is a little bit different.
How does that feel?
It's different. I just never know what to expect, I think. And how do you prepare to be interviewed? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only good thing with me is I don't do any preparing, so there's no prep work
Oh,
with
so
me.
we're both coming in the same way.
Both, just come in. It's all good. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
What's been going on?
Honestly, not much. Just mahi. Just trying to, I don't know, make a name for myself, do well. That's all I'm ever trying to do, I think.
Yeah.
And I've been doing my job on My FM this is my 7th year, so coming up 8 years. And I'm not even 30 yet, so I think I'm in that stage of okay, this has been really fun, but is there a next thing, or is there a pivot, or what's happening next? So I'm just trying to build. I know this sounds corny when people say this, but you want to build your own personal brand. I don't want to be just the girl that's on My FM.
Yeah.
I want to know that I'm a little more multifaceted and I can do other stuff too. And I don't want that to be my identity.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just in that stage of figuring that out. I still love my job. It's the most fun in the world, and I've got a really cool team, but I definitely am having that, what do they call it? A quarter life crisis or something. Yeah. But it's cool. It's chill. It's just I'm just having some moments where I go, oh, maybe I should start thinking about that. Or maybe if there's something I wanted to upskill in, maybe now's the time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about all the brand stuff. I find that interesting. I guess it's what we've done in the work that we do. The first thing I want to go back and I know you travelled around a lot as a kid. What was your childhood like?
So I was an army brat. So my dad did 38 years of service. So he got out a few years ago. But he's done that. He's been in the army since he was 16. That's kind of all he's ever known. So I was born in Wellington, Pōneke. Lived in Auckland for a little bit because Dad was working at the base in Papakura. And then we moved to Palmy, and then we got a really awesome opportunity. Dad won the opportunity basically to do a posting in Tonga. So we lived in Nuku'alofa for 2 years.
Wow.
Which was what a cool experience when you're 9 years old. I think I was the perfect age in the sense that I didn't really care about a lot of stuff yet. I think if I went as a teenager, it would have been a lot harder. But I think I was just living for the island life, and we were fortunate enough to have a boat that we could use to go fishing on the weekends if we wanted to, and I think it was like a really cool way to see another part of the world, how other people lived, give yourself a bit more perspective at a young age. Really enjoyed that. Came back to Palmy, Then we did a stint in the United States for a year. Dad got an opportunity there, so I lived in Texas for a year, and then I finished off my schooling in Palmy. So lots of going back to Palmy. That was kind of home base. But I think those opportunities to live overseas as a kid really shaped maybe having a bit more of a worldview or having a little bit more life experience.
Yeah.
And I think definitely as I went into like adulthood, obviously went to uni and then getting a job, like my first adult job, I think those experiences really helped me get ahead a little quicker, I think maybe. Yeah.
What was Tonga like? Because we had Javier on, and he got sent to Tonga. He thought it was a holiday.
No.
Turns out he got enrolled in school.
So when I went there, it would have been around 2006. So I went to school there. I went to Ocean of Light International School. For any Tongans, they'll know the school. That's where all the expats go. I really enjoyed it. While we were there, we did experience, I don't know if you know about it, but Tonga had riots, and like a bit of unrest, and 80% of the town got burnt down, and we were living there when that happened. So Dad really had to step up into a position where he wasn't just there, just being the expat from New Zealand, the military expat. He actually had to step up and help out in that situation. So it was an interesting time. So like I really enjoyed the island lifestyle, like going to school and getting to just be on beaches all the time. But we experienced like earthquakes, cyclones, and then obviously when the riots happened. And like I don't think people understand like how crazy it was when that happened. Like we got home from school and Dad was very preoccupied and you just stay here, you're about to get picked up. And, there was yelling and screaming all on the street and a car on fire outside, like on the street outside our house. And we're just kind of like, what the hell is going on? Me and my sister, I was all but 10, she would have been 14. And then we got evacuated out. We got told to pack a backpack and go. And we were then staying out of the town, just out of Nuku'alofa. And then Dad got us sent out on the first Air Force plane out of Tonga, evacuated out of the country.
Jeez.
And I remember we were at Whanaupai, that's where we landed, and there was like news people there. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Name was in the newspaper. How cool. And then we'd see Dad on the news when Barbara Drever was over there trying to cover the riots. And we were like, this is crazy. Dad ended up getting I just want to shout out my dad. He actually got a medal. He got a DSD after his service there, which obviously he was like, I don't need a medal. I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing. That's my job. That was another sort of eye-opening thing that I think now as an adult, I look back and I go, like it wasn't, we weren't just living in the islands for a couple of years. There was some stuff going on. And, it gave some perspective on how, I don't know, like, and I say this really as someone who has lived a pretty sheltered life, like the safety that we have in New Zealand and how everything does work pretty well, And although, people are not going to agree with the politicians sometimes, it's never gotten to a point like that. And so I think nowadays I go, wow, like how lucky we are to be where we are. Yeah.
So is your mum Māori or your dad Māori?
Mum's Māori, yeah.
Where's she from?
So she grew up in the Waikato. Both my parents did. Dad's a born and raised Huntly boy.
I was born in Hamilton Hospital.
Oh, really? I think my mum was born in Auckland but did her whole life in Hamilton.
Yeah.
She's Māori, grew up with a single mum, and her single mother is Pākehā, so a bit disconnected to her Māori side. But we're working to, I think me and my sister especially, and even like my cousins, because there was that disconnection, we're all kind of working to, I don't know, feel a bit more Māori, because we didn't really grow up that way.
Yeah, how do you navigate? Because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
My old man went to prison, so I didn't live with my mum at the time. I was living with my Samoan grandparents, but they thought it was a waste of time speaking Samoan to me, so didn't learn that. Couldn't understand a bit of it. Knew nothing of my Māori side, and it's a weird space to be in. Like sometimes I feel like that sense of belonging is not there. How did you feel?
It wasn't until I was in university that I kind of felt like that was a part of my identity that I should really own. Like it's not just something that's in my blood. It's actually a part of me, and if anything, it's who I am. But I didn't grow up around a lot. Like I did kapahaka for a couple years here and there, but in Palmy there wasn't really a lot at the schools I was going to support that. But also, maybe I didn't feel the need for it at the time, but it's so cool how fast it's changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But when I was at uni, I I think I found myself connecting more with other Māori, and even at AUT, I studied at AUT, and they do like extra like sort of services for Māori students. So like you can take advantage of having like a tutor, an extra tutor or things like that. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to take advantage of that. And then so I was like, oh, it's actually mean. And there wasn't many of us either. So it was just one of those ones where I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. And then even stepping into working at Mai more and more, because that's our Auckland frequency is obviously owned by Ngāti Whātua, Ōrākei. So there's sort of obligations and, you know, using Te Reo Māori on air and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, I've always been in a space where it's encouraged me to try connect more and more. But yeah, I do think there is that, I still have that sense of like not quite feeling like I belong just yet. I still don't quite feel Māori enough, even though I'm proud to be it. And I don't know what that is and why that is. And I think my whole life I'll be like working toward feeling like enough, but I don't know if I'll ever get there. But no, like even when I don't feel enough, I'm still proud to be it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. You know, I'm still proud to be Māori, but I get thrown into some spaces where I have to speak and I do not feel comfortable. I speak at the big, the Māori king before he passed. He had that big national hui. Yeah. And I had to speak there. And I don't speak Te Reo. I'm not one for procedures and protocol and all these. And even the night before we had a dinner. And it was crazy, like it was amazing, but I was the only one that couldn't speak Te Reo at this dinner. The only one. Yeah. Everyone was speaking Te Reo and I would go, oh man. And then the imposter syndrome sunk in and I just was about to leave and the lady said, Dave, what's wrong? I said, oh man, I don't belong here. Like I don't speak Te Reo, I don't belong here. And she said, you're not here because you can speak Te Reo. You know, you're here because of the work you do, you know. There's enough people here that can speak Te Reo. Yeah. She said, the word and the phrase imposter syndrome does not even exist in Te Reo. There's no phrase for it. Yeah. So if it doesn't exist, why do you feel that way? Yeah. That's a good way of the way we feel. I think it's on us. Yeah.
I think it's like I saw a podcast, like a clip of it came up on my TikTok feed, and they were talking to Tamaiti.
Yeah. And cool.
They asked him, do you think whakapapa is enough? And, you know, that's an interesting question because for the most part, I'd say in the last 10 years to 15 years, whakapapa has been enough. And he said no. And straight away I went, listening to it, I got quite defensive. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean it's not enough? But the way it was framed and then the discussion that happened afterward was more about, I think in the times we're in now, it's not just enough to be Māori. We actually have to be working toward, like if we want the next generation to never feel like that, then all of us, and even if it's just a little bit day by day, we have to be working toward whether that's revitalising the language, learning tikanga, and just like incorporating te ao Māori into our spaces so that it becomes the norm for when they come along. And I was like, oh, that's quite an interesting perspective because whakapapa is the only qualification to being Māori, but what else can we do to make the next person feel like, you know, it's only going to, if it's going to progress, I think all of us need to be putting in work. And that was confronting for me because I go, sometimes I feel like I'm doing enough, but maybe I'm not. And so then I'm going to my man, we need to go back to wānanga, let's go. And maybe that's the kick up the bum I needed to do more. Yeah.
I've kept hearing about these full immersion programs.
I want to do it so bad. Do you know what's stopping me though? I'd love to take the year off and do full immersion, whether it's go to Takiora or something like that. I know people that have done it. It's been so beneficial for them. It's changed their lives. But I am in this position where my career trajectory is going really well. And to take a year off could be detrimental to my career. But I hear you, like learning the reo could only benefit me in my life. There's nothing wrong with learning it, but it's like I have a really hard time with the idea of taking a year off to then do that. It's still mahi. It's probably going to be harder than anything I've ever done before. But I go, oh my God, but what if I can never get a radio job after that? Yeah. What if I can't get back into broadcasting after that because I've taken a year off? That's the fear that I have. So now I'm like, okay, I need to, if I can't do that, that's not the option. Then I need to go do the level 1, the level 2, the level 3, level 4. It's not going to be a 1 year, 2 year journey for me. It's going to be a lifelong one. So I just need to accept that it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. It has to happen when you're ready.
I imagine because you're busy though too.
Oh yeah.
You're like, how do I do that?
Yeah. And then I think, man, if I took a year off, I think of all the people that rely on us.
Right.
Like yourself, I think just go and do those level 1s, level 2s. And I've tried, man. We've even started our own courses at BBM. It's like I started a yoga course.
Oh, really?
I said, I need to stretch more.
Yeah.
So we started like yoga lessons at BBM. I haven't been once. I went once actually and realised that yoga's quite hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's tough.
It wasn't just the relaxing stretch I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But the main thing for me around this learning is mainly for my children.
Yeah.
So I think, man, if I know hardly anything around both sides, my kids know next to nothing.
Yeah.
So when I pass, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's something I've thought about to our whole family, actually, like saying we need one of my mates, Fanati, he does, he's a videographer, and he goes and films families like an elder in the family talking about the lineage and the history of each family so that it's on, you've got it. Because then once that passes, like, you don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that's mainly just like where I'm from.
Yeah.
Knowing
But
the basics.
I even feel the same. So like my last name is Welsh, and so that's Dad's lineage. And there's obviously I've done my ancestry DNA. I've found out all the bits that I am, which is super exciting when you realise like I'm 1% Hawaiian.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like aloha. But like learning more about even my dad's heritage, and I think it was like my great grandfather that migrated from Wales, and how there's actually like so many different ways you can spell my last name, but they're all kind of from the same era. But I think over the years, family members split off, and then the sort of transliteration changes. And but even learning that part of my last name, and so our last name's Yorwarth, but it's spelled Yorwarth. And I was talking to my dad recently about it. So we've always had a thing like when I was younger, we'd just say Yorwarth because that's how it's spelt. And it was just easier that way. And then it wasn't till Mum became a teacher, she had someone say to her, like, well, no, if it's pronounced Yorwarth, you pronounce it Yorwarth.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, but it's just, it's just tougher that way. No, but that's your name. And it was a Māori teacher that told her that. Because, everyone wants their names to be pronounced correctly. Why is a Welsh name any different?
Yeah.
So I've been really tough on, no, it's Yorwarth. I don't care that it looks like Yorwarth, it's Yorwarth. But even learning about that side of the heritage too, I find really interesting. Like I've always told Dad, like I'd love to go to Wales one day, find my whenua, like over there, learn some more history about that. It's cool. It's not just like, even though I love the fact that I am Māori, I am bits of other things as well that are super interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
How long's Mum and Dad been together?
This year, they would have been married 35 years. So in November is their 35th wedding anniversary, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's epic.
Impressive, eh?
Yeah.
Especially when you kind of grow up and you realise like half your friends have parents split up, half of them have them together. It's pretty rare for them to like stand the test of time.
What do you think it was that's kept them together that long? I always ask people when I find successful couples.
Yeah. I think they might joke and say because Dad was on deployment.
I've heard that.
But I think they just had they just had the same goals and made sure they were always working toward the same things. Like there were times like when I was 10 weeks old, Dad was overseas on deployment in Sinai and over in Egypt. And the community, and this is one cool thing about growing up as an army brat, is army is like family. The amount of uncles and aunties I've got that aren't blood related, but I feel like are, because they've been there from day dot. So like 10 weeks old, my sister's 4 years old, I'm 10 weeks old. Dad goes overseas for 6-7 months. It's the whole community that helps raise the child and like the village. And so I think in some ways you go, oh, but you didn't see Dad for 6 or 7 months, which has obviously happened quite a few times over our lives. But it's like, yeah, but we've been so rich with people around us that have been able to help out. But I think it's just they've just worked together for the goal. And I think it's cool that your mum has had to pack up and move every time Dad's had a posting. But then it's kind of nice as we've gotten older, Dad's been really like, no, you choose what we're doing, and he's obviously not in the army now, but I see him want to prioritise her needs and her happiness and her goals as well. I imagine that's probably what helps him and Mum stay together.
Yeah.
Like, well, they were a lot happier once me and my sister moved out. But they just do cool shit. Like Mum goes, for her 60th, she's like, I've always wanted to go to the Maldives. So they saved for years.
Yeah.
And they did it last year.
Wow.
They work toward the same goals, and I think they just talk a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, talking is important. Were you always wanting to get into media?
No one at 18 knows what the hell they want to do.
When did you know what you wanted to do?
Oh, I kind of dabbled with a few different ideas. I always liked media, and I was kind of looking at universities to go to, because I just thought that that's what you have to do is you go to university. And I was going to go to either Wellington or I think I applied for Massey in Wellington, and maybe I applied at Waikato as well. And a career counsellor said, "Have you thought about going to AUT?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going to Auckland," like that. And she said, "Oh, I think if you want to do media, that's the course. That's the course for you because it's really hands-on." And so I sort of looked into it and applied, and I got accepted. My parents, I think, hated it because Auckland's so expensive. Even then, it was 2014, super expensive. And I just I feel like this is the course. So I went and did it. So I always wanted to be in media in some spec. I don't know what it was. I just loved radio. I would always be the kid calling up to share a story or whatever it might have been. We'd always make videos as kids and stuff. But as soon as you get to uni, you find out very quickly, if you want to be a presenter or something, well, good luck. Those jobs are very sparse, very few and far between. And then they sort of encourage you to upskill as much as you can because the industry's big and there's more than just presenting jobs. There's other jobs too. So I majored in TV and screen production. I actually failed radio at uni. Failed year 2. So I had to go to summer school and make up those credits. But the TV and screen production sort of part of the degree, I learned how to edit videos and sort of do that kind of conceptualized storytelling. And then, so my first job out of uni was working for a radio station editing their videos. Yeah. So it was kind of, I got into radio, but just in a slightly different way. But it wasn't even though I'd love to have been a presenter, I just was very realistic that wasn't going to happen. Yeah, so I just was upskilling elsewhere. What's some other fun stuff that I enjoy? I liked editing funny videos and stuff like that, so that's what I did, yeah.
Well, it's definitely a good skill to have, being able to edit videos.
Well, and I still do it on my phone, when I've got to make all my TikToks and things now. So it's been handy to know all that stuff, yeah.
So just in this influencing space, how have you seen that change? And how do you feel about, being an influencer?
Oh my God. Do you know what? I know some people don't like that term, but I'm just whatever. Yeah. It is what it is. I know I've got another job, but I'm a broadcaster. I do some influencing. What do they say? Content creating.
I think that's the new word.
It's different. I think since COVID, the shift in the type of influencer people want to see has completely changed. I think it went from people who had what seemingly perfect lives and pretty aesthetics to now people want to see really real, funny, and just relatable stuff. I think of Lisa Perez-Cullen, who's one of my favorite influencers, TikTok creators, and she just does daily vlogs and story times, and it's so real. And she's got kids and a husband, and she'll talk about when they piss her off or all sorts of stuff like that. And all of a sudden, that has become New Zealand's most popular creator, as opposed to someone who potentially before that was just someone you looked at in awe because you were so jealous of how they looked. And now it's I think people are starting to connect more. They want to connect more with people that feel like them or seem like them. So I think that's how the space has changed, and that's probably helped me as well, because I think with my radio job, I don't know, that's me on air. I'm not any different in person. But because people obviously connect with some of the stories I tell on air, they have been more inclined to want to follow me online as well. So I've just been trying to connect those two worlds and see what I can do online and with the same people who love the radio show.
Yeah, I mean, you are definitely relatable. So I watch your stories, especially around the stuff when you're sharing about the haters. I mean, what's wrong with people?
I don't know. I'm just whatever. But you know what? The younger me would have ruined, but I would have wanted to quit because people have messaged me calling me fat or said something really awful. But to every one hate comment, there's 100 nice ones most of the time. People generally aren't that silly. But there are times where there will be an influx of people just wanting to hate for no reason or wanting to point out things that you're your insecurities, and you have to learn to just get a tough skin. There can be 10 days in a row where I'll get comments and I could not care less. But on a bad day, it'll really upset me. And there are days where it does upset me. But if I know that the most part, I don't really care. And I also say to some of my friends when they get hate comments, there's a few of us in the space, I'm if you can't think of a funny comeback straight away, delete it. And then it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Block the person. Who cares?
What's the worst one you've ever gotten?
I've definitely had people someone telling me that I should kill myself, and just double down and me try to reason with them and it not work. but can't even remember the person's name.
Yeah.
Like it's not really something I think about a lot. There was one recently and I couldn't even quote you the whole thing, but I just remember the way it made me feel. But they had essentially listed a bunch of things, and they were making fun of a bunch of things about me that felt really personal, to do with past relationships, to do with my weight. And it was all in one comment, and I just went, whew. That just felt a little too personal. It felt like you'd been following me for a little too long, watching closely, like a little too close. And that one got me. But half the time I can't even quote them because it's just been, I try to just let it go as soon as it's gone and been and gone. Yeah.
I remember when you first came onto My.
Yeah.
Was that your first presenting role?
Yeah.
My
I
Breakfast?
did it. So when I was at Georgie FM doing all the editing and stuff, I did I got along with one of the hosts there, so we got given like a Saturday show. That was a piece of piss. It was just we pre-recorded it on a Friday. Like it was nothing crazy. It was just like right place, right time. I just spoken to the right people in this sort of network at work, at other brands, and one of the guys that worked at who's our manager now, he was like, "Oh, this girl Tegs at George, we should just try her," because we knew Lily was leaving. So they just threw my name in the hat. And then I got a message from DJ Severe being like, hey, you want to come in? And I'm like, I've never talked to this man in my life. Why is he emailing me?
Yeah.
And my boss was like, knew what was going on and really wanted me to go for it, but couldn't tell me, he might just want you to do some weekends. And I was like, okay. So I went in, walk into this room, DJ Severe, Nixon, and I think Callum was there too. Severe said, you probably want to know why you're here, eh? And I was like, yeah. And then Nixon just said, we want you to audition for the role. And I was like, me? Like, well, who am I? Like, why me? But I don't know. They just threw me in the hat, wanted to see what I could do. And I auditioned with Nixon, Nate, and Lily, and then with Nixon and Nate, and then I got it. But it was like a 6-month trial.
Yeah.
I was kind of news reading and doing the weather and sports reading and stuff. They were just testing out the waters. But I think it was a nice way to do it because I think My FM listeners, loyal to the soil, and you hate change. And so for them to have Lily, who's probably like one of the best female hosts they've ever had, for her to leave and someone new to come in was already going to be rough. So the way they did it is there was 6 months in which I was in the show kind of contributing while Lily was still there. So by the time Lily left, I think they'd kind of trained the audience to go, well, obviously it's going to be Tegan, she's already there.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice way for me to come in as well. And like sheltered me from any negativity that could have possibly come our way. But it was cool because Lily had given them such a heads up that they were allowed to do that. But yeah, that was my first gig presenting, and it was so scary. Yeah. But I got there in the end.
You came on, it was so funny. It was funny.
Yeah.
I said, I just done my nervous poo.
Yeah. I don't even remember half of this stuff. And the other day,
it just went silent.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, they did a bit where it was like they were trying to show us our first My FM clips that went viral.
Yeah. And
they showed my one, and it's obviously from those first few months that I started. And to hear how like timid and reserved and like you can almost hear I'm scared to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now, couldn't care less. I talk about a nervous poo any day of the week.
Yeah.
But like back then, I was so apprehensive. And so it's nice to know that obviously, well, you'd hope that in 7 years I've grown up, but it's nice to know that I have grown and like grown into myself and my confidence and not questioning or being apprehensive anymore. If anything, I should probably put more thought into what I say sometimes. I just blurt it out, but yeah.
Has there been any tough times through your time at My?
Yeah. Yeah. There has been some tough ones. I had some like ups and downs with mental health. And I think there was lots of contributing factors in that, like, personal life and work life and it almost coming to a head. And I'd say there's sort of some times while I've worked there where some decisions that have been made, obviously over my head, have then been blamed on me by the public. And so like online, I was getting a lot of hate for a bit and I was kind of going, but I'm just here, like I just...
Is that when Jordan and that left?
Yeah, I got a lot of negativity and I reckon for a good year, there wasn't a day that I didn't receive a message along the lines of like, you should have got fired, you should have left instead, or you suck or whatever. So I think that took a while for me to get over. But I think now I'm kind of happy that we went through that because I feel like I'm a lot more resilient.
resilience is thrown around so much. People say you got to be resilient, but the only way you can get resilience is by going through tough shit.
Well, this is the thing, right? It's like we were talking about this. Who was I talking about it with? Potentially, like I don't have kids, but it might have been with one of my mates that does. And we were talking about how as a parent, all you want to do is shield your child from adversity. But it's like, are you doing them a disservice by shielding them from all of it because then they're not as resilient, going into the real world?
It's really hard. It's something I face because, having come through hard shit and then, being in a position now where I am, I do not want my kids going through hard shit.
No, you want them to have a good...
I don't want them seeing life through my lens, through the eyes I had to see it through. But you're right.
Yeah.
Then they become spoiled brats, So it's a really hard line.
Oh yeah. So I'm stoked that I've gone through hard stuff, but it would have been nice to not have to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, growing up, I had a pretty good life. We had everything we needed, nothing we didn't. My parents worked really hard, but by all means, we weren't in a far more privileged position than other people. We were just that real middle class New Zealand family. But I'm and I remember growing up being like, oh, but I want the Billabong backpack. And Mum got me a Kathmandu one. I feel so hard done by. But then you look at it in perspective now and I'm like, no, that was mean that Mum got me because that backpack would have lasted longer. Or the fact that Mum invested in that piece, or isn't it and I look back now and I'm like, no, I'm glad I was in that sort of middle class. I was acting so hard done by, but I feel so privileged that I had a nice sheltered lifestyle.
Especially as you get older and you sort of see, what else is going on in the world and what other families have been raised in.
Oh,
what
yeah.
other kids have been raised in. And go, man, I wish I had some food. Hey,
Yeah.
but you don't know that when you're young,
I was always clothed, always had a warm house.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you sit there and you always find something that you wanted more. And now I go, man, I had a mean life. What was I on about? But it was never something I said out loud. It wasn't like I was going, with those kids that go, I hate you to your parents. It was never like that. But as you get older, you realize that was actually really nice that my life had kind of no dramas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're going through that tough times, the mental toughness, how did you get out of it? How were you feeling at that time? What was going on in your head where you're thinking that this is not for me?
I think a lot of imposter syndrome, I didn't deserve to be there. But I also had people online telling me I didn't deserve to be there, so that probably didn't help. It was just, obviously I was lucky enough that I, could go to therapy. I could afford that. So I did that for a little bit. I went on some anti-anxiety meds as well. Because
so I was full on.
Yeah, it sort of got to a point where I didn't want to go on meds. I just had this weird thing about it and I was like, no, I don't need them. And my dad framed it to me as this is a temporary means to an end. You go on the meds, you figure it out, you get the tools in your kete, and then you get to a point where you can come off them and you can manage it on your own, which is what I did. So I was on them for 2 years maybe and sort of was going to counselling or therapy here and there, learning how to manage my emotions and manage my stress. And then I got to a point where the therapist said, okay, it's time to get off. You shouldn't be on those forever. I don't want you to rely on them. Let's try wean them off. So I weaned myself off and I've been, hidden life raw ever since.
Yeah.
And it's been fine. I still have my stressful moments, but I know how to manage now. And I think it's just having those reminders in your head, box breathing, which is something my dad taught me, which is one of my favorite things to just chill me out as soon as I start getting nervous and tight with anxiety.
So box breathing, can you explain to us these tools so that people watching can
box breathing
take something
is
away.
So simple, but it's just breathing in for 4, holding for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So it's a 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, but it's slowing down the breathing, brings your heart rate down. So if you're in a really anxious, it's always kept me to just bring me back down so I can just kind of breathe and think again. Yeah. I think my dad's always taught me that when there's a problem, there has to be a solution and just to think about it really practically. So sometimes I'll get so stuck in, but if I do this, this will happen. But if I do this, this will happen. And it's whatever decision you make is the right one. You just have to choose. You just have to choose one. And I think a lot of anyone who experiences anxiety can get stuck in those little crossroads. What else have I learned? I don't know.
What did you learn from therapy?
I just learned that shit's not that personal. That a way someone has made me feel or a comment that I receive online or anything like that, it's actually nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. So I think learning to just separate that and compartmentalize and go, okay, I'm getting this reaction from you, but this isn't to do with me. And then figuring out that, like, I don't have to wear everyone's negativity. And I think learning that shit isn't personal helped me a lot. And I think just especially with, I was sort of navigating this space, and actually I shared this with the boys I work with not long ago, that one of the biggest things I also learned was I often mistook my openness with people as our closeness.
Yeah.
But what I realized is just because I've been open and been able to share the best parts of me with someone, it doesn't mean that they've done the same. So I would have these assumptions that I was really close with someone or really tight with someone because I have been, open with them. But no, I've just been open with them, but they've given me nothing back. So I'd almost take it so personal that they've done me wrong, or they've led me astray, or they've turned their back on me. And it's like, but Tegan, they never gave you that back. Why are you so surprised that they turned their back? They actually gave you nothing.
Yeah.
But you were giving all of you. So I think I'm learning to, I don't know, like I don't have to give all of me to know that I've got a good relationship with someone. Like it's okay to be a little bit more reserved. It's okay to always say, like, me, my friends say, okay, we're 28, no new friends.
Yeah.
Or like if there's going to be a new friend, a friendship doesn't have to happen like this.
Yeah, yeah.
It can be a slow burn, You can know someone for a year before you ask to hang out with them. It doesn't have to be straight away. So I'm just figuring out how to navigate like this space in this industry where I don't give all of me straight away. Like people got to earn it. Nixon's got this great saying where he says, he always said to me, I think when you meet people, they're at a 10 and they work themselves down to 0. Like obviously if they do me wrong or whatever, he goes, you have to start people at a 0 and let them work their way up to 10.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a way where you can kind of protect yourself, but give yourself time to figure people out, whether they are someone good for you or not.
It's so true. You got to keep your circle really small, and people have to earn the right to be in it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not to say we all think we're perfect people, because I know I'm a very flawed human being as well, but I would almost expect the same from someone else. So and everyone's allowed to do that. So just the same way I'm allowed to go, like, actually, I'm just going to keep you at bay for a bit until I figure out what you're really like. Someone's allowed to do that to me too, and that's fine. Yeah.
It's hard because, like yourself, your circle, like people is a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and it's just the people that I spend time with I need to be careful of. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
I have to be around positive people.
Yeah.
I can't be around people that are always negative.
And I think that it's like not just positive people, but like driven people.
People that want to make me want to level up.
Yeah. I think if you're not hanging around people like that, I think that's an easy way to get stuck. Like I love hearing about someone, I want to do this, like this new business venture, or I'm going to try this, or I might pivot to this. Can't wait to see it, and gassing them up every step of the way. Yeah, we have it in the sort of like influencery content creator community. It's almost like there's a few of us that like as soon as you see them post, you comment, you like, you engage. You don't even have to watch the whole video. Just do it because they appreciate it. And like there's been a couple of times I might like have like an ad campaign come up that I really care about, but I'm really worried about if it's going to go well. And so I'll post it on my close friends. Like I've done it a couple of times. I've been like, hey, can any of my mates just give this a like or a comment just because I really want this campaign to do well.
That's how you're getting paid, right? They look at the insights.
Yeah. And people come through. They come through. And it's nice to have those people that you don't even have to ask. And a real friend would as well. In the content space, you kind of figure out who your mates are because they're the ones that always engage with your stuff.
How is it navigating this content creator space?
Weird,
Trying to find authentic people.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
Yes.
But there's a lot of like, I don't really go to like PR events and stuff like that. And that's not to say that I'm not grateful to get invited. Sometimes you go home with a goodie bag. It's awesome. But I go there and I sometimes don't even get spoken to. And so unless I'm going with someone, it's just not really my thing.
I'm not a social person at all.
Yeah.
I sort of have to be when I'm out. So I get invited to these things and my wife gets so upset because I never tell her and I just decline.
Yeah.
I just don't go to any of them.
Yeah.
But now, they're sort of dried up because I kept declining them.
other than that, the content space is pretty cool. I've been able to connect with some really cool people, like Joe Damon. He seems to has this little meetup. It's like him, Louis Davis, Terrell Tuffer, Ulskang, and they all meet up and do content together. Theo Shakes. And it's funny, Sheree Kaka messaged me and she goes, we should do a girl one of these.
Yeah, it's true.
We should meet up and do content. I said, great idea. And I think the group chat had me, Sheree, and Lisa. Have we met up yet? No, but we're starting. We've got a thought starter. But I think there are some really, really cool, genuine people that, I've been able to meet. And it's because of the internet. And it's because of us just like following each other online and then kind of becoming friends outside of online. And it's just, you kind of understand each other a little bit more because content's weird. It's a weird space.
Yeah.
But I see some of these creators that are sort of like up and coming, and I'm always in the comments like just trying to gas them up because, like I would have appreciated that back when I was starting. And I did have people that did, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's just nice when you know other people, like even if you've gotten to a point where you don't have to rely on your friends supporting you as much, you should still do it for the people coming up as well because they do appreciate it. They love it. Yeah.
When did you realise, I might be able to, make a career of this?
So the job I had before I was when I was at George FM, I was editing their videos and stuff, but I was managing their social channels. So I had a goal sort of every day of writing articles that would drive traffic to the website. I had to, edit some memes, some funny videos that would hopefully bring in more followers, whatever. Those were kind of our key objectives. So from there, when I came to DJ Severe was kind of like, I need you to use those skills here at and, build our channels and stuff like that. So the pressure was kind of on that I had to help manage some of the social channels as well. But I had the experience, like I'd done it for a year before. So I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. So I think within like a year or two, I got my Morning Crew followers from like 29,000 to like 120, which was awesome. But then I was like, I should try build my platform as well. So it was just, I don't even know what I was doing, but I was just trying to get out there, like, and make sure my face was on the MyFM pages so people would connect and jump on our page, like onto my own page. And I started with 1,000 followers. I've got now, it's been 6-7 years. I've got like 107,000 now. Awesome. But to know that I started with 1,000.
Yeah.
And I've been able to build
and
that.
Your audience is really engaged.
You
can have heaps of followers, but low engagement. Low engagement.
I was actually talking to another guy that I work with. He's got maybe 200,000 followers, and he was saying, he's like, your audience is really engaged. And I was just like, I'm not sure why that is, but I think people follow me because they like hearing what I say. I've just always been online trying to figure out how to, because the algorithm's always changing.
Yeah.
The technique's always changing. Like TikTok one week might be very heavy on like you posting photos as opposed to videos or long form.
How do you figure that out?
It's all trial and error. I don't think there's no playbook because it always changes. So last year, I think I was on beginning of the year, I was on 88,000 and I was like, I want to crack 100. Don't know why, but the number 100 looks pretty. So let's try crack it. Talked to mates like Joe Damon, who we've always been kind of hitting sort of similar numbers for quite some time. And I was just like, how do we grow it? And he was telling me, you need to post every day. Posting every day, like try more videos. And he even said to me, I said, but some days I just don't know what to post. He goes, put your camera in front of you, press record, see what you say. Yeah. See what happens. And sometimes those ones have been the ones for me that have gone the most viral, which is so weird. So had that goal to hit 100, and literally I think it was like the week of Christmas, I finally cracked 100K.
Yeah.
So it was 12,000 new followers in the year, which for some people, they might say that's a lot. Other creators might say that's F4, but I did it. And so it's just been like constantly creating and just knowing that like the investment that I'm able to put into it will come back out tenfold. The more followers you have, the more money you can make. I know it's not all about money, but making money sets me up for a better future. Like we were able to buy our first home this year, which was amazing.
I saw that. That was so epic. How did you feel?
Oh, unreal. I started the journey sort of mid last year and was doing it on my own initially. Obviously, like with my boyfriend, my boyfriend was just going to come live with. He's going to be my boarder. And then it was tough. The housing market, even though it's a buyer's market, there was still plenty of people that were ready to buy. So it was tough. I lost a couple, and then our parents kind of had suggested potentially we do it together because then the bank will give us more money. So we were like, okay, let's do that. And like my parents are actually very supportive of that idea. I thought they might be like, oh no, that's your journey.
Yeah.
But they were like, nah, that's a great idea. Like, why not? And then we started the grind together. So it took us 9 months to get a house. So it was pretty tough and long, like very privileged to be looking in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think anyone that has been looking for a house and it's taken them a long time, they know it sucks, it's tiring, you get over it. But we got our like dream house. The house like is everything we could have wanted and more. But like now the priorities have almost shifted. Like I think I've been grinding, trying to save. And now I've like spent all the money. I'm like, okay, now I'm grinding so that we don't have this massive mortgage for the rest of our lives. If I can just hustle as much as I can and while I'm still relevant, we can get that mortgage down and set ourselves up for a more chill future.
So we got our first house around COVID time, and I never in my life thought I'd have one. Never. Hammer the mortgage. So any extra money you get like from a online or speaking or whatever it is,
just goes away.
Bang.
I always say to people,
I wouldn't even save it. I'd put it straight on my mortgage.
Oh yeah. People always ask me, how did you even save for a deposit? And I'm like, because I had a salary and then I did extra, so all the extra went away. So I just pretended that money didn't exist essentially. Every now and then I might, if I wanted to treat myself, I could.
Yeah.
But it just went away. And so I think, and I know that's obviously a privileged position, right? Like we're in positions where we can work a little bit more.
The thing is, like, we can't be afraid to talk about it.
Oh no, I'm like, we had to hustle still.
Too many times people are afraid to talk money, especially our people.
Yeah.
They think, it's tall poppy syndrome. But, you got to show people it's possible. It's very important. Like that's why I love that you're posting about it.
Oh yeah, and I've been really lucky though. Like it just throughout my whole career, I seem to be around people and actually men too that are quite happy to share their knowledge with me that has helped me succeed or just like change my mindset around money. Like anyone who's been like a mentor, like even like Nixon, great with money. And the things he's taught me, and I'm not someone who likes to take risks, but sort of watching people who do like taking risks succeed, or sometimes fail, but often succeed, has been really beneficial in thinking about money. And I think I'm very much someone who has that scarcity mindset, like this money's going to run out and it's all going to be done for. My partner's a bit more of a spender, and it turns out that like having a relationship where one person's a spender, one person's a saver is actually a really good mix because you can both learn from each other.
Yeah.
I can tell my man, hey, maybe don't spend it this time, but save that away. But then he can go, Tegan, you're allowed to spend your money.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel guilty when I spend. We were overseas on a trip, saved all this money to go on this trip. I was still like, oh, no, I don't need that. And he was like, but you saved the money to spend it.
Yeah.
Why are you feeling guilty now? You're allowed to spend the money. This is what the money was for. Oh, I don't know. And I would start guilting myself and making myself feel stink.
Yeah, it's good to have that balance.
Yeah.
What's some quick advice you could give to, people that are trying to grow their following on social media?
Keep posting. Just post all the time. Don't worry about the numbers. I think there was something that got put into perspective for me. Two things that I've learned recently. One is that I only got 20 likes on that. Imagine 20 people in a room saying good job, or 20 people in a room saying you're doing great. Don't get too stuck on the numbers because it is a lot. Like I'll go, oh, that only got 300 likes, and I'll get sad about it. And I'm like, that's 300 people that went out of their way to do that. So post every day. Don't get stuck on the numbers. And there was something I saw on TikTok the other day that was that every time you post, it's a lottery ticket because one of those might just go viral. And so if you treat the more you post and the more you engage online, the more chances you've got at winning the golden ticket or the lottery. So if you think about it like that, I think the shame in posting, because sometimes I think when you're starting or you're trying to grow your brand and you don't know where to start, you can feel a bit whakama about like maybe something not hitting or not working. But every time you're posting, you've got another chance in the lottery. So just keep doing it.
So with your personal brand and with your work with Maya, what's the ultimate goal? Where are you off to?
I love radio. It's just so fun, and we've got such a good team at the minute. So when I sometimes sit there and say like, oh, what's my next thing? It doesn't mean that I quit Maya and do something else. It just might mean that I'm doing something a little extra. I've always had a dream of trying to crack it in Aussie radio, although I've heard it's hard and it's tough out there. But we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But I'm kind of also in the mindset that if I don't ever crack it in Aussie or I don't even try, whatever happens, that's the right path for me.
Yeah.
But I think it's just continuing to grow, continuing to connect with like-minded people here in NZ, and I just want the next generation of like broadcasters and content creators to just have some cool people to lean on where we can all share our knowledge and what we've learned along the way. Because I think this generation of creators, no one's been as reliant on social media as we have been now. And like things like, I know like YouTube's still popping and things like that, but there are lots of media like TV that are kind of dying.
Yeah.
You know, because streaming services has taken over, or the access, like we have such quick access to media now, we can just go on TikTok and see everything. Like how can we use those platforms that we rely on so heavily every day to our own advantage? And I think just leaning into that, would be cool. But I just want to keep growing. And yeah, I don't know if I have any like personal goals. It's all career for me. It's never really personal, but maybe lose a couple of kgs, that'd be nice. But
Seth, you're looking great. You're training hard.
Getting there.
So no, you don't need to stress about that. I ask all our guests that come on, this question. Going through these tough times and even achieving the massive milestone of getting into your own home. What's your why?
I think, and I don't mean this to sound self-indulgent at all, but I just want like younger Tegan to be proud.
Yeah.
Like I want to be a version of me that a younger me would be like, she's cool. She's done some cool stuff. I want to be like her. Like it's almost like I think when I was younger, I was a bit more timid, but a lot more insecure, not really confident in my ability to do anything, even though I knew I was kind of good at some stuff, but no, I'm not that good. Just knowing that there's a version of me that girl would look up to and go, I want to be like that. And I think if I'm always sort of remedying maybe that like inner child, I know that sounds dry, but and making that girl proud, I think I'm happy. I think that's the why. Yeah.
What would you say to that inner child?
I would just be like, you're going to do everything that you want to do because you put your mind to it. Big believer in manifesting. I know some people pray, some people manifest. I think it's all under the same similar umbrella. I think you just have to have that positive mindset, always speaking things into existence. I have a lot of friends that say, you don't say if, you always say when it's going to happen, not if. Or you say things that have happened. Say your goal is buying the home. I bought our home. Time hasn't caught up yet. Like, I've bought it. It's there, but I'm just still working toward it. And it's just reframe it so that the negative sort of inner thoughts, that inner monologue, like doesn't have the space. Like don't let it have rent in your mind. They ain't paying rent. Yeah. It's just there.
Go back and say, you got this.
Yeah, you got this. And just always believing it into existence. Yeah, I think there's a lot of power in that. It's law of attraction. Yeah,
100%. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
Constantly. I'm always visualizing where I want to be.
Yeah.
And things that I want for me and my family. And it's happening. My main goal was to have 5 homes, one for me and my wife and one for each kid.
That's mean.
And we're nearly there already. Far out.
Woo-hoo.
I have to have more kids. Thank you so much for joining me, sis.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Awesome.
Oh.
If you made it this far, thank you so much for the support. It really does mean so much to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment on our videos and share this out. These stories are so inspiring and they need to be heard by everyone. Thank you so much, team.